Hello everyone, Lilly Singh's Late Show has returned for a second season, and today I'm going to be watching it so you don't have to. It turns out that A Little Late with Lilly Singh wasn't cancelled. James Marriott is a lying fiend, who would have known? And since the show's return over a month ago, over 100 videos have been posted onto its channel. Now this means two things, my dear audience. One, I don't have to pay for some trashy NBC streaming service to show you the clips of the show. That being said, you also don't have to pay for my show of me reacting to her show, so you better click that subscribe button, you damn plebs. And second of all, I'm getting the impression that the suits over at NBC are starting to understand that Lilly's potential on the internet is far greater than her mainstream potential. Now, the way this translates into actions is, as I've said, the onslaught of YouTube content. At this rate, Lilly could probably fart and it would be given both physical and virtual airtime. The main difference between this season and the last, however, is that this time the content doesn't feel out of place on YouTube. That being said, nothing is really out of place here. I regularly watch videos of people from Cambodia building swimming pools. And you guys watch, well, me. But last season felt more like a talk show with highlights uploaded to YouTube. This time it feels like NBC have made a bunch of YouTube videos and then somewhat merged them into a talk show. Lilly's infamous monologues have now become low-budget commentary videos. Kind of stepping on my turf here, Lilly. They're filmed and cut like one of my videos, except she's standing up, something I'd never personally do. I do think that Lilly suits this dynamic a lot more. It's just her old format revisited and revamped. But then again, I don't think anyone really suits the late night show dynamic. Somehow it's made me dislike James Corden more than I already did. I wonder if this is NBC's way of showing that they're evolving and developing the late night show format. And I hope it is that way because I'm of the opinion that the current format is incredibly dated. It's been around since the 40s. Name me anything that's been around for 80 years and is still good. And before you say your grandparents, quite frankly, I've tried both of them and they were both equally as disappointing. The main positive of doing a late night TV show like a commentary video is that there's no audience.
Let me just get this out of the way, right? I understand that I look like a dad on vacation, but I don't want that to distract you from the important things I'm about to say. So I just saw a report that left me shook, okay? And no, not the report that said that Lizzie McGuire is now 20 years old. That also impacted me, but not that.
This just works 1,000 times better than before. This is beat, smashing through the points.
Yeah.
I haven't laughed, but I'm not cringing.
Also, you kind of would have like weird pauses with this stuff and you'd have an audience going, ooh, and that would ruin it. Yeah. Now, this may feel like a buzzkill for some of you because it certainly restricts the atmosphere, but one, it means that people aren't spreading a killer virus, which I'm surprisingly in support of, and two, we can finally dismantle this abhorrent culture of people feeling the need to clap and laugh every time they go to a live show. If you need to hold up a card reminding people to fucking laugh, you're either not funny or your audience are so vapid that they forget to display their own emotions. Now, you know me, I'm a cynical man, so even when I found something that I appreciated about the new season of Lilly's Late Show, it did also come with its downfalls. Lilly, I'm looking at you here. Stop looking down the viewfinder.
Comedy's the best medicine. Comedy's the best medicine.
This is the thing. As soon as you go back to filming old style YouTube videos, you get people who look in the fucking viewfinder. And I will never support someone who looks in a viewfinder at themselves mid-sentence. This is my biggest pet peeve when it comes to YouTube videos. Essentially, most cameras have this screen that I'm looking at right now. Never look at this unless you need to. It makes people feel like you're staring at their forehead. How narcissistic do you have to be looking at yourself when you're supposed to be entertaining other people? I don't know how other people feel about this though. I might be the only person affected by this, but it should be socially forbidden, perhaps even legally. The other issue I have with Lilly's new format is that, as a wise man once said, you cannot polish a turd. That's to say, you can wrap up Lilly's show in any way you want. You could put a little bow on it, but if what she says in her monologue is a load of woke nonsense, it remains a crock of shit.
Fighting for equality is exhausting. It's like 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, 2 steps to the left into the unemployment line. Like, it's hard to break the glass ceiling when it's crashing down on you.
Surely if the glass ceiling is crashing down on you, it's already broken, right?
Yay! I'm blinded by shards of glass, but at least I can finally be paid.
It's hard to break through the glass ceiling when it's crashing down around. Like, that's
you want that. I'd celebrate that. I think my issue with a lot of modern media is that it sensationalizes negativity. Never see me doing that. The thing I love about YouTube is you can upload videos of squirrels jumping around assault courses and it can get tens of millions of views. But a lot of talk shows focus on inherently negative things that will get them social points or cheers if you hold up the right sign. I don't think that Lilly Singh suits such negativity, especially when she tries to frame her show as a positive thing.
I want this show to be all about love and light and togetherness and positivity, okay? And I hope you're on board.
But also, But also...
Like, it's hard to break the glass ceiling when it's crashing down on you.
Obviously, I do think there's a place for dissecting social issues on talk shows. I just don't think that Lilly Singh, the creator of the official guide to getting girls, is the right person for that. What she should suit, however, are skits. Not this many skits. I don't think anyone asked for this many skits. I'm drowning in skits. But then again, what else do you do to fill that time? You can't exactly make a 45-minute commentary video. D'Angelo Wallace has got that on lock. That being said, I don't have to be the person to tell Lilly Singh what to do. I don't have to have all the answers. I never decided to do a late night TV show. Lilly bases a lot of the following skits on somewhat of a slightly distorted reality. And I say slightly because there are definitely elements of truth in her script. Most notably in Lilly is Switching Things Up this season, a partially fictional adaptation of the reasoning behind the show's current state. It depicts a conversation between Lilly and two of her producers that scoff at her idea of filming the late night show away from a studio. It probably wasn't her idea, but I digress. It's a decent idea to explain the situation of a comedy show within a comedic setting, but the issue with blending comedy and reality so nonchalantly is that you end up subconsciously considering Lily's character as non-fictional. For example, it gets really hard to take Lily's wokeness seriously when she says stuff like this.
By me! That is why we pay you the big bucks. Oh yeah, she's good.
It works for me.
Was she unhappy with her salary?
Oh, I hate being in the 1%.
It's gotta be in the millions though, right? She's definitely in the top 1% of earners.
Oh yeah.
So she can fuck off then, can't she?
I'm sure in comparison to NBC's other late show talent, she may not be getting paid as much. I can confidently say that she isn't worth less than Jimmy Fallon. Take that as a compliment if you want to. I just wish if someone was confident enough to complain about their 6 to 7 figure wage that they'd actually make me laugh.
Wouldn't it be weird, though, to wear a suit inside a house?
You're not using those right.
Can't stop myself.
That was very Shane Dawson short film. They're kind of like...
How was that in the script? Like, how did that appear in the script? She rolls her eyes back and says, how do you even type that out? Like,
imagine reminding everyone watching your show that there's a team of writers behind this before making epic funny things. See, when I do it, it's funny and it's not embarrassing because I'm the only person that writes these videos. At least when I make something shit, it's authentic. It's me. Lilly, on the other hand, has a whole team of writers working on this show, including this one segment which I cannot stop thinking about. There's a segment where Lilly Singh goes to see a therapist. Maybe there's an underlying reason I can't stop thinking about it. I can't see why there would be. But first of all, I don't like skits where people play more than one role within one scene. Of course, this is something that Lilly did all the time in her early days, so people won't really care about the lack of quality within the nostalgic cliche. But it's just one of those things that 8-year-olds marvel at. Wow, they're in the same scene twice. Does Lilly have a twin? Why wouldn't you just pluck one of her many writers away from their sticky keyboards and make them do the scene with her? Or I don't know, hire a fucking actor. Hire me. You can be the therapist, I'll have the therapy. I don't need it, I swear. In short, Lilly has an on-site therapist that she visits to discuss issues like crying a lot in season 1 and the pressure of having so many people on her case. The therapist then insults her.
People have all these expectations. I got my late night show and I just feel like everyone's watching me all the time. You know what? I wouldn't worry about that. I've seen your ratings. Hey. That's true. Get out of here.
what was the joke there? That they were bad?
Yeah, the ratings are bad. That's the joke. That's the skit. Now, I'll be honest. I didn't find this particularly funny, but maybe some of you at home did. If you did laugh, I want you to go back and replay the last 30 seconds of this video. Not just for the watch time, I promise. Here's your chance. If you laughed, go back now. Welcome back to those that laughed. I want to ask you a question. Did you laugh again? If so, please feel free to unsubscribe. And if not, then welcome back to Sanity. It's a pleasure to have you. The reason I asked you to watch it again is because the joke isn't really funny the first time, let alone the sheer amount of times it gets repeated. Cynic and I watched 3 instances of this joke repeated over and over again. They struggle to even title this segment because the content is so brutishly similar. Lilly gets roasted in therapy. Lilly gets roasted by her on-set therapist. Lilly's therapist roasts her. What are you, Lilly, a fucking chicken? She's one step away from being tied up and having herbs shoved up her eye. PR team have told me that that joke is not okay, and I'd like to issue a formal apology.
The people of Toronto are heartbroken to see their favorite resident move to LA.
Really? You think so?
Absolutely. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is irreplaceable.
Hey, you see what I did there?
Oh, it's the same joke.
It is.
That's the exact same premise. Is there another one? Can we see this again?
It's funny you say that, Sidit,
No.
we did watch another one after this, but I don't feel the need to put you through it. It's just the same thing again. Lily being the butt of a dad joke and then going, "Ay." I even watched the one they put out the other day. It's the same thing again. Quite literally the definition of insanity, folks. I saw this comment. "I love the A. It makes my day." Honestly, that is making your day. My God, do you have my pity, sir? Click on the latest therapist video that she's uploaded onto the Late Night Show channel, okay? All of the comments are about the A. Imagine that being the highlight of your skit. A. No one's paid attention to anything else that goes on within this 1 minute skit. Again, Lily, the idea I brought up earlier, I think it deserves genuine consideration. Walk into the therapist's office, fart, and then stare at each other for a little bit, whip out a cheeky A. Comedy gold. All thanks to me. It was after watching these therapy skits that I realised that Lily likes to be the butt of the joke in the majority of her sketches. Now, as someone who has a rather plentiful career of self-deprecation, I always used to use it as a way to shield myself from criticism. And by that I mean, if I'm the one who insults myself, no one can really get to me. No one's criticisms matter if I already know I'm bad, right? Now, I like to believe that I handle criticism a bit better these days. Quite frankly, after releasing Slowdown, I'm feeling pretty invincible. But if we go back to Lily's commentary monologues, it becomes quite clear that she hasn't adapted to the onslaught of criticism just yet.
Yell at me on Twitter. I just won't see it for a while. Love and light. Everybody knows the show's about love and light.
Oh yeah, don't criticize me because I've deleted social media, and also positive vibes only.
I won't see it. I promise. I won't see it. Please stop. Now, don't get me wrong. Twitter is an absolute cesspit. I would implore anyone that still has that up on their phone to uninstall it. Cast your Twitter-infested mobile into the flames. Lilly Singh has most definitely deleted Twitter for mental health reasons, and quite frankly, I'm proud of her. But many influencers who stop using Twitter stop using it because the tides have turned against them. From an outsider's perspective, making your flaws one of the focuses of your content when you're not really handling it that well on other platforms just comes across as a bit pitiful. It reminds me of when I was a kid and I was very self-conscious. I used to make ugly faces in every photo of me because then if someone called me ugly, I could just blame it on the face. Now imagine if I based an entire show around me pulling ugly faces and you knew why I was doing it. You just end up feeling bad for me. And after the first couple ugly faces, you probably wouldn't be laughing anymore. Obviously, you have sketches where she doesn't highlight her insecurities, but then you have this issue where she's done with social media. She's been criticized, she's out. The majority of her audience didn't leave. I'd argue that she's still yet to really establish an audience outside of the internet. So the themes of other skits quite naturally revolve around the internet. For example, there's one about subtweeting, something which she shouldn't have the means to do anymore. And it's very clear that that's the case because what is meant to be subtweeting in the video is not subtweeting whatsoever. Subtweeting is levying criticism or negativity towards someone without explicitly mentioning who they are. You want them to believe that you're talking about them without actually telling them.
I ordered fries for the table, yeah. Oh, thank God. I am basically starving to death. Oh, same. So hungry. I hear you. Dude, work has been so stressful. The other day we had... Sorry. Jessica.
That's not subtweeting.
Yeah.
This is a boomer attempting to understand media. That is not a subtweet.
I'm confused why she's got this wrong because it's not that complicated. She's used Twitter before, right?
Yeah.
Did she write this or did someone else write this?
And this is where the issue with the current format of Lily's show resides. Yes, this is the way we're used to seeing Lilly Singh and other YouTubers portrayed, talking directly in front of a camera or sketches where they play more than one person in the same scene. But it very much feels like an industry plant Lilly Singh instead of actual Lilly Singh. Simply because, like any other TV show, there are many people working on it. And the more of Lily's late show I watch, the less control I feel like she actually has over it. Now, luckily, none of this show is ghostwritten. They're very clear with who the writers are. I say luckily, probably not luckily for Lily, but luckily for us, because it gives me more things to take the piss out of. There's a segment of the show which involves the writers awkwardly filmed over multiple Zoom calls. I would try to describe the content, but they struggle to describe it themselves.
Do I trust my writers? And will I continue reading the joke? However, if I'm a scaredy cat, which I probably will be, I have to spin the wheel of consequences. That's the name.
This is so overly complicated. So I'm going to read what's on the card, and if I don't like it, then I have to spin the wheel. And then when it lands on the thing, I have to choose a key from the box. And then I put the key in the lock and open it up, and there's It's just like, fucking, why is this so complicated? Stop.
Essentially, the writers have to try and cancel Lilly by writing her some of the most edgy jokes they possibly can. Forget the thing she said about this show being positive, that's gone out the window. I don't know if I got too easily offended by this part. I think my issue is that if you're an edgy creator, if you've been pushing the boundaries for years, basically if you're not a late night TV show host, what happens next wouldn't surprise me, nor would it shock me. But this segment is jarring for all the wrong reasons. First of all, they mentioned the altercation between Rihanna and Chris Brown.
Did Chris Brown ever win the Best Male R&B Vocalist Grammy? No, he only beats women.
Oh, that's funny, actually. Domestic violence is fucking hilarious.
Lily, we're punching up, just like Chris Brown did.
Okay, so do we not care at all about Rihanna? Is that fine now?
And where has this line been drawn? Up until this point, nothing can ever cross into the vaguely non-PC bounds.
Yeah.
Yet here we are laughing at Rihanna being punched in the face. And then, as if that wasn't enough, I think, and I'm going to add allegedly here because this may be somewhat of a miscommunication, I think Lilly allegedly downplays blackface?
What's brown, white, and red all over? The Canadian flag after Justin Trudeau uses it to wipe his face? No! Trudeau, okay, Justin, look at me. Justin, you're disrespectful. I am a proud Canadian. You should be ashamed.
Wait. So she's kind of defending blackface there. She looked really embarrassed about that and was like, Justin, look at me, these fucking Americans, they've got no respect. She's like siding with him. Her moral compass is just spinning. Like constantly.
Like that damn wheel. I was so confused by this segment. I thought that the writers were going to jokily try to cancel Lilly. I think she actually just wants out of this altogether. The jokes and writers contrast so much. You go from jokes about assault and blackface to the Smurfs.
What's the difference between Americans and the Smurfs? When they say Blue Lives Matter, it isn't racist. Who wrote that? Was it one of you that wrote that?
Sabi,
you're wild. Look at you. You're crazy. Look at you.
He's so crazy.
He's one of the most boring looking people. Stop pretending that this man is edgy. He probably has homemade jam on white bread every morning. I'd like to take back what I said earlier about Lilly Singh needing other people in front of a camera. Please never let your writers do that ever again. And speaking of having other people involved in the show, I wanted to take a quick look at some of the guest segments. But unfortunately, I just can't handle Zoom interviews. They give me anxiety. I'd rather curl up and die than watch Dwight Schrute give a 240p interview at 1000 ping. I refuse to believe that there's any Zoom interview out there that flows like a regular conversation. But there is one interview that Lilly did in real life, so I figured we'd analyse that. It's with a PS5. Can you tell I've watched far too much of this show for my own good? There is some humour to be had in not being able to interview actual human beings, but again, it just comes off as incredibly out of touch. And out of stock, am I right, lads? They start talking about how Cyberpunk got removed from the PS5 store even though it was never on the PS5 store in the first place.
You both recently released a new title, Cyberpunk 2077, and
Wait. Technically, that's incorrect because it's not out for the PS5. It was never out for the PS5.
Yeah.
So he didn't take it down from his store.
Well, all they're doing here, James, is they're looking at the headlines of articles and not actually reading them, and then using that to inform the comedy that they're writing.
No, I refuse to believe that she's a gamer. She's one of us cynics. She understands these things. And some of you may be thinking that this is an annoying nitpick for me to have, but I take it very seriously, thank you very much. This is cultural appropriation. My culture as a gamer is being disrespected. Please don't cancel me. There are plenty of jokes in this interview, one particularly rib-tickling moment where Lilly refers to the Xbox Series X as the PS5's X because Xbox. Do you get it? Huh? It surprises me that this season has had an overwhelmingly positive reaction to it. I wouldn't consider myself an overwhelmingly negative person, but there's been no clear improvements in the second season, other than the fact that it's a bit nostalgic now. But the line in the Teletubbies is nostalgic. It doesn't stop it from being fucking terrifying. Don't be tricked by people revisiting their old memes. The quality of the content hasn't gotten any better. You just miss how you felt when you were younger. And on that existential bombshell, I've been James Marriott. Subscribe.